Next top story, number 4, is Tether is back on Bitcoin, baby. Lightning dominance is just starting. This is from Dickie Greenlead, 23 hours ago. Bitcoin territory, 48 comments, 20K boost, 2,993 sats. Keyan, what is Tether?
Yeah, so this has been like kind of all over the place on all socials. But I guess at the Plan B forum in El Salvador, Tether announced that they are going to start minting Tether on Bitcoin again, which I guess they originally did back in the day. But they're doing it now in conjunction or in partnership, I guess, with Lightning Labs, this Taproot Assets project, so that you'll be able to send stable coins over, or Tether, USDT over Lightning. And some people are excited about it. I think most people are not. I mean, at least most people I interact with are largely not. There are benefits to this. I think we'll see more Bitcoin being deployed on Lightning, which means Lightning will probably get better. But then it has this other, perhaps not worth the trade of creating an incentive for the U.S. government to kind of pay a lot of attention to the Lightning Network. And right here at the top, rare passenger, OFAC, FATF. FATF is it's sort of like a world government financial crimes think tank, and they basically are guiding policy of financial stuff around the world. With their regs are we basically align with all of the regulations all these NATO countries do. And then what does that turn Phoenix into if people are receiving USD on the other side? There's a lot, and this is why I'm glad this was actually one of the top stories this week, because there's a lot of really interesting discussion. I don't think that would happen because normally stackers wouldn't probably be interested in this and want to discuss it. But because this was a top story, a lot of them ended up sharing their point of view. Justin Shocknet in here has a really interesting take where he's like, what does he say? He says what needs to happen is hyper-dollarization, where all other fiat currencies are killed by the dollar. And then only then will hyper-Bitcoinization happen. That's kind of his path to hyper-Bitcoinization. He says hyper-dollarization needs to happen first, which I think is kind of interesting. But he also restates his point of view that all of these things are just kind of silly ways to get around money transmitter and other types of laws, and it should really just all be centralized and custodial because it might as well be. And it's what does he call it? He says you're conning regulators. And so I suspect that's what he thinks is going on here. It's this is a bit of theater for regulators to make them think that Tether actually isn't in control. Anyway.
Topher, what's your thoughts on this?
I really do enjoy Lightning Labs and the team that they have, the product that they've built. I think from a technical perspective, Taproot Assets is really cool. I like a lot of the architectural changes that they made to LND to support Taproot Assets. I like that some of you can do some pretty cool meta protocol stuff on top of LND nodes now. It doesn't have to be Taproot Assets specifically, but you can do other custom protocols as well. So I think that's cool. And I think Taproot Assets is cool, the way that they're doing accounting with Merkle trees, all the technical stuff that they introduce is really cool. That being said, Tether is the worst example that you could use for Taproot Assets because it kind of takes away all of the cool things that Taproot Assets would give you. So Taproot Assets, what's cool about it is that you can have these two nodes on think of the Lightning Network as this graph, and you have two nodes on each edge of this graph, and they're running Taproot Assets. All the intermediary nodes can just be regular Lightning nodes. And so if you have a particular asset on one node, you can convert it into sats. send that sats over the Lightning Network to the other node, and then have that node convert it from sats back into that asset. And you can do that with the Lightning Network participating in that without it really knowing or caring what's happening. So in that way, you can sort of like use the existing Lightning Network to do Taproot assets transactions. But the thing is that when you have these different assets, in order for you to convert them into sats, you have to agree on what's the exchange rate. And so that's something that kind of is like not really discussed, like who gets to dictate what the exchange rate is between a particular asset and its sat equivalent and what is that protocol like? Is that like two nodes that negotiate that? Is there some third-party oracle that's deciding what that exchange rate is? And okay, so then that's one thing. And then you go, okay, well, even if you don't think about that oracle problem and that, like, what is the exchange rate? You kind of have this decentralized network where you can pass assets around in addition to sats. Well, but then you have this thing called Tether where they have their own centralized ledger where they keep track of all this stuff. So it doesn't even matter that you're keeping track of this on Taproot assets, because at the end of the day, all that matters is what is on their ledger as Tether, because they don't have to necessarily honor the Tether that you have in your wallet. So it's kind of like, I think Taproot assets, it's cool, but Tether is like the worst example because it's really like it doesn't matter that they're using Taproot assets. Like, what's the difference between using Tether on Taproot assets and using Tether on a Coinbase wallet? Like, from Tether's perspective, what's the difference?
Yeah, it is.
That's what I don't get.
Yeah, I think that's where Justin's point is valid. Is that it is Tether is more or less operating as a bank, but to avoid banking regulations, they issue their coins on decentralized databases, or more, in many cases before Bitcoin, quasi decentralized databases that they're synchronizing with their centralized database. So it might
at the end of the day, if you want to convert that Tether into US dollars, you have to go through Tether, or you have to go through an exchange.
Yeah.
And so
at some point,
you're going to hit that OFAC list. If there's an OFAC list and you're on it, you're going to hit it. Whether you're holding your Tether on Ethereum, whether you're holding your Tether on Taproot assets, it doesn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, what's the point of having an asset that's so centrally controlled, like being sent across a decentralized network? Like, what's the point of that? That's where I don't understand this.
I think regulatory obfuscation is what Justin's point is that it's pretty much purely to he would say con regulators. That's the phrase he likes to use. And what is the other point that he makes? Oh, he said, he thinks we're in a completely new regime now where Tether can just do the centralized database thing and they don't have to worry about getting prosecuted. I don't think that's true, but I agree with him that the setup seems weird. In general, it seems like a bit of a shell game.
Yeah,
but
so
I thought. I mean, it makes sense that this is the biggest. This is one of the the biggest other coin by market cap other than Bitcoin, probably. Is that true? The stable coins, at least the usage is very high. So I think that's why Lightning
it's hard
Labs
to say because
paired
Tether is on so many different chains. So, like, how do you know what the total market cap is?
Yeah, or how many is issued. This has been a question for a long time. Is like Tether actually doing their accounting honestly? I think most people agree now they probably are, but yeah, I think they probably have their own, or maybe they don't disclose it. You might know better than I do.
I don't. I mean, if my naive way of doing that, if I cared, would be to I'd have to look up all the different implementations of Tether on all the different chains and look at all those market caps and add it all up.
I see.
And then I wouldn't even be surprised if it ended up being greater than the market cap for Bitcoin. Because there's a lot of money in Tether. Like, it is like the most popular stable coin for USD. And they've been around for a long time. They're like on almost every chain. So
Car, do you have thoughts on
Oh, do I?
Taproot assets?
I know. I think I agree with. Or I'm not gonna say. I think I do agree with Topher about the Taproot assets. I think that's really cool. Hats off to the team for getting it over the goal line, all that kind of stuff. Because that's. I mean, we feel like we've been talking to them for what, like 2-3 years at this point. And so it's good to see that they finally got it over the goal line. So technically, I think it's pretty cool. But just more like the whole theater of it all. I would say obviously Tether's, they make the most money in Bitcoin. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, they're the giant behemoth that makes the most money in Bitcoin, and they fund a lot of things in a lot of different ways, or at least Bitfinex or however that is all fit together. But I would say just post-Bitcoin ETF, and I've been saying this for the entire time, is the proliferation of the USD across all countries and it doesn't matter where. Even El Salvador bent the knee. So I think the majority of where Bitcoin is going is going to be in the hands of the BlackRocks of the world, and that's what's happening here. And I don't think people are taking that seriously. Like, you're not going to be able to get Bitcoin anymore, and they're making sure of it because they want you using Tether. And I say this like they want you using Tether. I'm just saying that the people behind the scenes that are making sure all these moves happen are making sure that the proliferation of the U.S. dollar gets to every nook and cranny of the world, and that continues to happen on every chain, on everywhere. And I think this is just continuing to do that. And I think at some point, people will look back and be like, "Damn it! Like, we had a really good thing here, and we didn't get enough Bitcoin." And so if we can get more people in Latin America to use Tether, we can get more people in other countries in Africa to use Tether, and I get the whole point that they need all that stuff, and I get that. Like, they need the money right away, and I get that. But the fact remains is that you won't be able to get Bitcoin. It's going to be a lot harder. And then I think, so that's kind of where I see everything going. And then just the last piece I would add is, like, it's kind of game on between eCash and Tether at this point. Like, it's going to be really cool to see what technical thing actually wins here. Is it going to be the eCash mint stuff, or is it going to be the Tether stuff? And this is this thing I've been saying for the longest time. Like, no one wants you to have Bitcoin. So I'm kind of more interested in that kind of fight. Like, what's going to happen, eCash or Tether? And I got my popcorn ready.
I think most people are they think they're compatible. So because
maybe. I mean, we'll see. I mean,
Tether on Lightning has all the same problems that that Bitcoin has on Lightning, and so that's kind of the.
I mean, I guess you could run a Tether mint inside of eCash, right? But like,
yeah, that's
why I'm interested to see how that plays out, because that's going to be the really cool thing. And then all the rugs will happen, and then all that collapse will happen. And that's where, like, I think Darth Coin says it here. It's just like, just stack Bitcoin, man. Like, just stack Bitcoin. All this is just theater. And I feel like I've been saying this for 2 years at this point. Like, it's
like putting on a costume. Like, you can.
Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited for Lightning Labs. Super excited for all the developers that got it done. It's amazing. Like, I think for as far as like Bitcoiners who are interested in getting more USD, this is going to be good for them, because now we'll start seeing more of the DeFi stuff enter the ecosystem. So for builders and stuff, you'll start seeing all that kind of those new markets get created. And I think that's going to be a whole new wave, and that'll lead to the price running up. So I think all that is going to happen later this year. And then I think at some point I'm interested to see what wins, eCash or Tether, and then where the government lands on. Does it land on, like, because at some point they're going to have to run a law. Is it going to be an eCash law, or is it going to be a Tether law? And that's going to be really interesting to watch at some point.
I think the SEC, I think the new Secretary of Commerce was like a co-founder of Tether, and I think also used to be the CEO. That's what I read. I think it was a Lola Leeds tweet that I read. I haven't looked into it, but she's usually very specific with the facts that she surfaces. I guess I really don't have much more to say about it, other than I'm not going to say any more about it. I think that'll be it.
Yeah, earlier this week I was asking Topher a really dumb pleb question. Was like, does this mean every wallet will have to KYC AML because LND can just flip a switch and then everybody's able to run Taro? Therefore, Tether's running through it. And I think you said no, right? That's not how that works.
Well, if they just enabled it by default, I don't know. I don't know how they would.
I guess that's a BitDev's question, I guess.
Well, I would, me personally, running an LND node, if they just suddenly enabled this so that now I have like this multi-asset wallet and I can receive assets unsolicited to me, then I would be upset, and I think a lot of people would be upset.
Well, that's what have they said anything about that?
I
yet?
know. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm kind of curious, and that's just more probably like
they know better than to do that. I found the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
On Tether, so I was way off. This is according to Grok. So the total market cap of Tether across all its supported blockchains and networks is approximately $140 billion. That's the market cap.
That's not.
And then the total market cap of
Bigger
all
than Bitcoin.
USD stable coins is 217 billion. So it's still like off by an order of magnitude compared to Bitcoin.
Okay. Awesome.